We're here at EdTech Week with Mario Vasilescu from Readocracy. Readocracy is an incredibly interesting company, does all sorts of interesting things. Mario, tell our audience who may not know what Readocracy does.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Readocracy is like a Fitbit for knowledge. Everybody learns through YouTube. Everybody has like 10 newsletter subscriptions. If you're learning about AI, it's probably coming from online. We make it all count. You normally wouldn't get credit. We can make the articles you read, YouTube videos, and now soon even AI conversations to make it count. And you can use that in a number of interesting ways.
Yeah.
From solving AI cheating to giving people new recognition for their careers and just understanding their own mind. So that's what we do.
It's really interesting. I mean, I think one of the things we've discussed, and it's coming up a lot at this conference, is the world is changing so quickly that what constitutes, in-demand skills or employability, it's just very hard for the education system to keep up.
Yeah.
And increasingly, people are learning from informal sources or alternative sources. I know you've seen this coming for years. Tell us about how you see that ecosystem evolving, this sort of idea of getting ideas from anywhere and then being able to use them in a capacity where we can actually use them for our career or our credential.
We can't possibly tackle all that now, but try to touch on a few of them. Always good conversations. I think one piece is, we can look to, in some ways, what's happened with journalism and the creator economy where, going from big publishers and then people had distributing out and overlapping of how they provide information and what, counts in terms of reputable information and sources. I think you're seeing that. You've been seeing that with education for a while, but now it's shifting, especially with AI and automated assessments. I think you're seeing that shift even more to the decentralization of learning that actually counts. And I think what universities like schools need to adapt to is the fact that they have this moat where they still have to do the assessment. You could get information anywhere, but it only counts if you go to school. And now, largely due to AI, that's kind of being exploded, where you can also prove your knowledge from anywhere.
Yes.
And so I think a lot of the conversation, and then on top of that with employers too, are saying, well, you weren't even learning what I wanted you to learn, and certainly not fast enough with what I want you to learn now. And so the information you get from anywhere is super helpful because it's fast.
Yes.
It didn't go through an approval process. It didn't get updated 2 years later, And so I think that's becoming a necessity actually for people to keep up and stay relevant in a world that fundamentally is moving faster than the institutions themselves.
Exactly. I love that distinction between the acquisition of knowledge and the proof of knowledge, and the idea that being able, it's this sort of meta, but being able to show an employer that you can acquire knowledge very quickly and from a wide variety of sources is actually arguably more valuable than traditional proofs of knowledge, like traditional credentials or degrees. It's a strange world.
And now with AI, being able to prove that you are actually reading and learning and passionate about it and complementing AI with that learning is so important.
Yes.
Because obviously everybody's having this existential crisis of you care? Did you learn?
Right.
What do you know? And so, it shouldn't be about banning AI, but I think it's becoming so important for employers, for schools to help provide the provenance, the journey of learning and prove that, not just the provenance.
That's an interesting way to look at it. Yeah, because you can imagine employers are fishing through, are filtering through thousands of applicants for a small number of jobs. And each of them has a various set of, listed skills. They have a list of education credentials. And it's just the signals are less clear and meaningful than they were. And they're going to become even less clear when people start distrusting that, saying maybe somebody got their degree by using AI to get through their entire system. It's a very strange moment.
I'm sure anybody who is dealing with employers, career side, I know we've heard already from so many that they are being inundated with way more resumes than they were getting before and oddly perfect cover letters.
Right.
And they don't trust anything anymore. They can't trust anything anymore. And so they're like, how do we get other signals?
And it's a crisis of trust and a crisis of speed.
Yes.
Of speed and knowledge acquisition. I mean, I love talking to you about this stuff. I think it's incredibly interesting. Tell us about some of the ways, you mentioned a few different use cases for Readocracy, some of the ways you're thinking about taking this attention tracking and this credentialing of informal knowledge and using it in the market. For what types of audiences are you working with?
I think a few things that I want to point out. One is going further with media literacy. I think we're fundamentally at odds. Media literacy is great, but it's theory. And really we're in a situation where the people you're teaching, the students, are up against a system that is actually designed to make them act impulsively. So there's no time for theory. So it's kind of at odds to make change. And so we need to fight fire with fire. And so with our tools, our ability to gamify and make you mindful of your attention and aware the same way you be motivated by your calories or your step count. What does that mean where you can get that for how you invest your attention and understanding how it's affecting your mind? So changing media literacy. And then on the other side, this whole conversation around cheating like we said, like they do the learning. It's interesting because you don't want to be coming from like an accusatory place,
Right.
and like a culture of fear or distrust. And it's just interesting because it's really, again, just about like showing your learning and presenting yourself better. I think it's just interesting how, as a slight aside, a lot of the issues we're seeing with AI are just revealing issues in the education system, right? That already existed.
I agree.
Just bring them to the fore.
Yep.
And so, yeah, our system are other ways to say, well, instead of relying on a detection tool at the end, which gives you a score, which is wrong 20% of the time, is going to get you sued by angry parents. Why not instead have a system that tracks the whole learning journey transparently, reliably, defensively? And so, it's not even just about cheating, but also giving your students more ways to prove themselves when they enter the market if it's moving too fast.
Yep.
So these are a couple of ways. There's more, but people should come talk to me for that.
So I mean, when I hear you talk about it, it's almost like in the knowledge economy, you rewarded knowledge, and knowledge was signaled by traditional credentials. We're in the attention economy now, so attention becomes the currency. And if you can go tell somebody, I have spent this much attention, this much time learning this type of thing, and I'm going to continue to spend this much time learning as it changes, it's a very valuable skill set.
Yes, and more broadly, as a pitch to everybody who I would imagine watching this cares about learning and learning mattering in society, when you talk about attention, we're living in a world today where power and relevance is the quantity of attention you get. Doesn't matter how you do it. It doesn't matter how poor the information is. It's just the quantity. And what we're suggesting with what we can do is we can live in a world where it's about the quality of attention you get. And being informed is what matters. So imagine the world we would live in and what we would do for the education sector if we could map, how we invest our attention, how we learn anywhere into relevance and turning down to power instead. I think what it could do for schools who are trying to stay relevant, for every type of educator, it could be really powerful and just create a culture of learning all the time, not just when it counts.
Exactly. And, it also reverses some of the dynamics around traditional homework and assignments. Like, we have these assignments in K-12 and in higher ed where it's like, go do the reading, read these 3 chapters, and then answer this 1 question or these 3 questions to prove that you did the reading. Yeah. But the questions can be gamed very easily.
Yep.
And instead, what they actually care about is that you did the reading and you thought about it, and where you put your attention, that you actually put the time in, but that's not trackable. So those questions become a proxy for, did I spend high quality attention on this thing? This completely, it is a runaround the idea of having to do these proxy assessments, which I think is one of the most exciting things about this age of AI.
Yeah. And just also the notion of like one size fits all systems, right? Like we've been trying to solve this for 3 decades at least. And now suddenly with AI, we somehow forgot about that. Also, we're going to go back to paper assessment. One second, so we're going to watch you speak.
Right.
And we're going to forget that everybody's a different testing style, learning style. And I just think the ability to uncover the passions that students have and the ways they learn and what they care about beyond what you think they know is so powerful to really recognize people where they are in a way that is still respectable and defensible.
Yeah.
So I think we need to meet in the middle, and hopefully what we're doing.
And attention spent on things that may be not traditionally valued, it could be valuable again, right? I mean, if you have a high school student who has spent many, many hours, researching some niche topic or using an AI tool to create music, that actually could be a very valuable skill in the workplace, but there's no way they can credential it in anything school.
Yes, and I just find it so interesting when we talk to people and people first learn about Readocracy and our tools, and they want to use it themselves, for example. They're like, oh, I'd bet it would show so much how I learn about knitting tutorials or gardening. And they're like kind of embarrassed as if that doesn't count.
Yeah, right.
It's not a thing. And my immediate reaction is, first of all, so many transferable skills. And it just shows you're a learner and you're curious. And that's what people want.
Exactly.
And secondly, look, there's like 100 million engineers out there. There's 100 million, whatever generic profession. There's going to be a company out there who wants your unique combination of engineering and gardening, coordinating, or whatever.
Anything.
That's your
true
superpower.
crime. Yeah.
True crime, whatever it is.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's how you prove yourself, and that's how you find a job you love. That's something to get better talent in. And I just think it helps everybody to better understand who you are, not just what a system says. It's
bringing your whole self to your resume, right?
Yeah,
literally, right?
Yes.
So we're here at EdTech Week 2025. What has stood out to you so far? What's been most exciting?
It's interesting because recently I was also in New York for UNDA, United Nations General Assembly Week. And I feel like there is maybe a commonality in the sense that it feels like there's some urgency where I think people are talking theory of how we need to change. And I think too much time has passed and people are realizing that the change is upon us and not enough has been done.
Yes.
And I feel like here, from what I'm hearing in conversations, is there's more pragmatism
Yeah, I
that I'm
agree.
usually used to hearing in these environments, because I think in certain industries, old traditional industries, education, journalism, these conferences can feel a bit incestuous and like left behind.
Yeah.
And it feels
Academic.
like everybody's being forced to be like, no, we have to be working at the speed of what's happening right now.
Yes.
So that's been refreshing.
Hey, I agree.
We did a little preview of EdTech Week this week, and one of the days was like, the theme was like rubber meeting road. And it was like, well, what happens when the federal funding is all pulled? What are you going to do? What are going to happen when the schools create procurement, environments that limit what they can buy? Like, what are you going to do? And these things are just, they're happening now. You can't talk about them as if they're these coming trends. They're already here, and everybody's trying to adjust. And I think that's healthy, I think, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and I think even just that, we're so used to thinking about structure and maybe not enough about even the people, for example, right? Like I had a conversation recently with a top school, and they were like, oh, our problem isn't necessarily even cheating. It's the fact that we don't think our students have attention spans anymore.
Yep.
They can't even read. I can't get them to read. And so like, what do you do about that? Like, what is the point of your education if they can't even absorb your structure?
Right. Right.
And so like, that's the type of
If you have a mismatch, if academic structure is a mismatch to how students think and experience the world, you've got a fundamental problem.
Yes.
And I think I think people are experiencing that. That's the 6th, 7th. I mean, like, it's like people are just like, what is going on now? Like, they don't understand how students live. Like, none of us do.
Yes.
I think, but I mean, it's a wake up call. I think that's actually
And
healthy.
you're seeing it. I think
Yeah.
it's great. Like the world's going to change. We just have to be more responsive. And I think it's refreshing to hear people who maybe typically, if I look at the role, I'd say, okay, they're going to be old school. They're not going to be interested in, and even the session I was just in, hearing somebody say, we don't want you to just be something that plugs into the existing system. We want you to help guide us to where it's going. What a nice thing to hear.
Yeah.
Which you don't use.
Not at all.
I think it's a signal.
It's really exciting.
Mario Vasilescu is the CEO of Readocracy, and kind of talking into EdTech Week 2025. Thanks for being here with us on Edtech Insiders,
Thank you, Alex.
as always.